Hello, this is Tim Rogers. You are watching Kotaku.com. Final Fantasy VII was released 20 years ago. Shortly after that, I moved to Japan and then lived there for 10 years. You can move to Japan too. It helps if you have a college degree and find a job before you go. Though if you can play a musical instrument, maybe you can go and join a band, which then gets a major record contract before your 90-day tourist visa runs out. That is definitely not what I did. I'm playing through Final Fantasy VII in Japanese for the first time. I'm noticing a lot of tiny differences between the game's Japanese and English scripts. I'll tell you about some of them. Before we get started, I'd like to thank thelifestream.net for providing us with the English footage of the game. Also, I'd like to disclaim that any Japanese you learn over the course of this video might never be of any use whatsoever to you. Last time, we learned that our friend Barret's closet might not be skeleton-proof. Now we're at the Gold Saucer, which is a theme park. We're here because someone told us Sephiroth might be here. I think our guys just want to go to a theme park. Though, what do I know? When we get to the Gold Saucer, Barret is still feeling sad. Aeris, however, is ready to flip bonker wild on a chubby bucket of good times. She is heating up the grill for a burger bonanza. Tifa whispers to Aeris,
"Whisper, whisper."
"Wasn't that a little harsh, Aerith?" To which Aeris replies,
"Whisper, whisper."
"Just act normal when this happens." In Japanese, this is a little bit more elegant. Tifa says, "Chotto hidoin janai?" This literally means, "Isn't that a little harsh?" Though is also a colloquial girly way of just saying, "Should we really blank?" Like, should we have fun when he's feeling so bad? Wouldn't that be sorta like rubbing it in his face? Chotto hidoin janai is a context-packed speech figure. Tifa saying, "Wasn't that a little harsh?" is a pretty awkward line, considering that all Aeris had said was, literally, "Hey Barret, cheer up." Hidoi literally means awful or harsh, though if I was Tifa, I'd have called Aeris' enthusiasm tactless more than anything. Aeris replies, "Koyu toki hen ni ki o tsukawanai hou ga ii yo." Ki o tsukau is one of the many Japanese phrases that uses the noun ki before a verb. Ki can mean spirit, energy, thoughts, care, or consideration. Ki ga tsuku means to notice. Ki o tsukeru means to be careful. Ki o tsukau literally means to use ki, which carries the nuance to be considerate or mindful of someone or something. Hen means weird or strange. Hen ni means weirdly, strangely, unnaturally, forcedly. So hen ni ki o tsukau means go out of your way to be considerate. In times like this, it's best not to go unnaturally out of one's way to be considerate. The English translation is not wrong by any means. However, when we look at the Japanese, it strikes us that Aeris possesses a particularly high emotional intelligence.
"I love her."
We encounter Dio, the owner of the Gold Saucer. He calls Cloud boy. He calls him Shonen in Japanese. In English, Cloud then says, "My name's Cloud, and stop calling me boy." This is exactly what he says in Japanese. In English, Dio goes on to say, "Me? I'm the owner of the Gold Saucer. The name's Dio. Just call me Dio." Cloud's reply is ethereal in its parentheticality. In Japanese, this is a little different. Dio says, "Watashi ka? Watashi wa koko Gold Saucer no enchou Dio toyu kigaru ni Dio-chan to yonde kure." Me? I'm the owner of the Gold Saucer. The name's Dio. Feel free to call me Dio-chan. Every animaven in the audience likely knows that chan is a diminutive name suffix. It implies cuteness or precociousness. A manly man who is comfortable with other people calling him chan has a certain je ne sais quoi about him. A man who is straight up asking a stranger to call him chan has a je ne sais quoi straight up out into the stratosphere. In French, we call this a stratosphere quoi. So my ruling is, the translator passed up a great opportunity here to give Dio some weird nickname. I personally would have gone for, "The name's Dio. Just call me Big Boy Daddy Man Dio, baby." Here, too, Cloud replies with parentheses. Cloud mutters, "Kiichainai na," which in Japanese means, "I didn't ask." Though we can see how the translator translated it as, "not even listening." Japanese uses literally the same verb, kiku, to mean both to ask and to listen. I'm sure that never gets confusing. It actually doesn't ever get confusing. It's context, man. Context is King. Here I just have to point out that Cloud's objection to Dio calling him Shonen, meaning boy, represents the third name he has objected to. Previously, the guy at the Chocobo farm called our group old folks. Oji-san Tachi and a young boy at the weapon shop in the Midgar slums called Cloud an old man, Osan. So, if you ever encounter Cloud, you should probably call him Futsu no Otona-san, which would mean Mr. Normal Adult Person. No, that was a joke. Don't call him that. Also, he's a fictional character. When you visit the Ghost Hotel, the receptionist says, "Welcome. Thank you for coming to the Ghost Hotel." In Japanese, that's "Irashaimase to Ghost Hotel e oide itadaki makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu." There's no particularly interesting difference here. I only highlight this because this is a phrase that everyone might find useful at some point if they ever travel to Japan. That's a joke. Notice he says Ghost Hotel, meaning Ghost Hotel, and then he says arigatou gozaimasu to mean thank you. The Japanese writers could have punched this up by making him say arigatou gozaimasu. Nope, that was a joke. They definitely should not have done that. No one in Japan would have found that funny, except for me, if I had been in Japan. You know, many years before I was a guy who lived in New York and spent 60 hours a week for 6 months playing Final Fantasy VII, way back when I lived in Japan, I had a girlfriend. Can you believe that? I lived in a huge 6-bedroom house, and she rented a room in it. We had our own rooms because that's funny. The house was an old samurai mansion-looking house with 2 side hallways that ran down along the room doors. The house was more of a Metal Gear Solid level design than a piece of architecture. What I'm saying is, every time I came into a room that she was already in, I surprised her. She dropped and broke several dishes and cups because of the architecture of this house we shared. Eventually, everything in the house was made of plastic. The element of surprise accumulated to such an apocalyptic scale that I had, at some point, taken to repeating the word ghost everywhere I went, just so she'd always know where I was in the house. Not 90 seconds passed without my saying, "Ghost!" That was the coldest winter I ever experienced, alone and shouting "ghost" in the dark living room. Not even sure if my significant other was in the house, the neighborhood, or even the city at any given moment. Some nights, it was like maybe she was in space. 8 years later, I still say ghost in Japanese sometimes, in the bathroom, or the kitchen, or the shower. As we wander this theme park, a new party member, Cait Sith, approaches us. He says, "Hey you," in English, and he says, "Hey you," in Japanese. Right off the bat, Cait Sith is smacking us with a goofbag accent. Whoa! I meant to type goofball there, and instead I typed goofbag. Wow, I am never saying goofball again. English owns. In Japanese, Cait Sith speaks with a Kansai accent. This is the dialect of Japanese spoken in Osaka and Kyoto. At the risk of annoying someone who lives in that part of Japan, I'll summarize. The Kansai dialect is the Japanese shortcut to hilarity. When I first saw this character, I pronounced his name Cait Sith. It wasn't until 1999 that I learned the true pronunciation of his name. My neighbor at Forest Dormitory at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, one Keith Rudisell, effortlessly called Cait Sith Ketshi. I was like, "You mean Cait Sith?" Keith was like, "It's Ketshi."
It's Celtic mythology, dude.
And I was like,
Hey, I speak Chinese and Farsi, man. I don't know no Celtic mythology.
and then we were best friends. He was an English major. Here I just need to point out that Keith was not the NASCAR guy I alluded to in a previous episode. We're going to talk about the NASCAR guy again in our next episode. To make sure you don't miss it, please like and subscribe. If you don't feel like liking and subscribing, that's okay too. If only I'd been born in Japan, I would have played Final Fantasy VII in Japanese first. In Japanese, his name is clearly Kettoshi in katakana. There's not enough characters to spell out Cait Sith in English in the Japanese version. Ketshi is a fortune-telling machine. He dispenses a couple fortunes for us. The last one hits hard. What you pursue will be yours. However, you will lose something dear. In Japanese, it's a little bit different in a way I personally find extremely meaningful. 求めれば必ず会えます。しかし最も大切なものを失います. You will meet that which you pursue. However, you will lose the most precious thing. This is foreshadowing for spoiler Sephiroth brutally murdering Aeris by stabbing her in the back with his 8-foot-long samurai sword at the conclusion of Disc 1 of this game. In Japanese, Aeris is not just something dear. She is mottomo taisetsu na mono. This unequivocally means the most precious thing. I love her. That our translator translated most precious thing as something dear feels to me like an indication that he might not have known Aeris was going to die later in the game. He might even have been translating the scenes in this game out of order. So not only was our translator raised on a dairy farm which was out of delivery range from Domino's and Pizza Hut, he also didn't know that Aeris dies in Final Fantasy VII. Come on, guy. Everybody knows that. Ketchi joins us, such is his interest in our grim fortune. We find a bunch of gunshot dead bodies in the battle square. Big boy Daddy Man Dio walks in on us, standing in proximity to the corpses. So naturally, he presumes we shot them with the gun we're not carrying. He chases us into a little room. Cloud begs him to listen. Hey, pay attention! Dio retorts, there's no need to listen. Pay for your crime down below. In Japanese, this is a little smoother. Cloud says, Oi, 少しはこっちの話を聞け. And Dio says, 聞くことはない。下で罪を償うのだ. Hey, just hear our side of the story. No, pay for your crime down below. The Japanese phrase kiku koto wa nai literally means there is nothing to listen to. This sentence structure is a manly manifestation of the Japanese tendency to repeat what the other person just said in a conversation. So Cloud says, listen to me, and Dio says, there is nothing to listen to. In natural English, this would be, please, just let me explain myself.
No.
This is a rare case of English being far terser than Japanese. In Japanese, in this case, to be tough and cool requires extra syllables. I enjoyed a lot of manga, anime, and Japanese role-playing games as a teenager, so I personally have a super-duper soft spot for writing that feels quote-unquote translated from Japanese the way "there's no need to listen" does. As a teenager, I found it unearthly, bizarre, fascinating, and appealing. I was like, people don't talk like that, and I love it. Excellently, having experienced so many sentences like this and from Japanese translated works, gifted me an early understanding of the way the mechanisms of Japanese grammar function. In other words, people do talk like that. In Japan, Dio drops us out of the gold saucer in the grips of some kind of a manga robot which I suppose is intended to safely deliver us to the cruel desert floor below. This is Corel Prison, an outdoor prison in the hated desert. The first NPC we see here says, I'll tell you one thing, rookie, this desert is extremely dangerous. What? Rookie? Do we work at this prison? In Japanese, he uses the word shiniri, which we may remember as what Barret called Cloud in the very first line of dialogue in Final Fantasy VII. In English, it was translated as newcomer, and I said it felt like it should have been new guy, though definitely not rookie. Here, it should probably be new guy as well. At the time Final Fantasy VII was translated, early 1997, Quake had been out on PC for at least a year. LAN party culture was already a thing. I would know. I had seen it. What I'm saying is, heck, this prison inmate might as well have called Cloud a noob. It would not have been weird. We meet up with Barret, who's busy hating himself in a tiny little shack. No better place, I'd say. We ask him about the gun murders at the Gold Saucer, and he gives us this beautiful text box right here. There's another man that got a gun grafted into one of his arms. It was 4 years ago. I love this text box. This is yet another case of the English localization adding some nuance that wasn't exactly present in the Japanese. Barret just says, "Kataude ni ju o motsu otoko," another man holding a gun in one arm, clearly using the verb motsu, to hold. He says it without kanji. This can be an indication that he's speaking somewhat abstractly. Barret will go on to speak no details about the guns having been quote-unquote grafted into his and his friend Dine's arms. Barret tells us about this day that, some guys shot at him while he was pulling his buddy up over the side of a cliff. I'm not sure what exactly happened to their arms. Barret says of the incident, "From then on, I couldn't use my right arm no more. I was depressed for a while. Then I threw away my artificial arm and got this gun grafted in. There's a lot going on here. Let's look at the Japanese. 俺の右腕はもう使い物にならなかった。しばらく悩んだけどよ。俺は右腕を捨て、この銃を手に入れた。I'll translate this literally. My right arm then became something I could no longer use. This is a slightly different nuance from I couldn't use my right arm. He's gently implying that he could use it, just that it wasn't as useful. しばらく悩んだけどよ is translated into English as I was depressed for a while, which could very well be the case. Barret has been through a lot and has been depressed for a long time, though I don't think that's exactly what the Japanese is communicating. The verb nayamu is versatile. It can mean to worry, to be troubled, to be sad, to be obsessed, or to debate with oneself indecisively. I think he's using this latter meaning because his next sentence is 俺は右腕を捨て、この銃を手に入れた. Ultra literally, I threw away my right arm and got this gun. In English, the translation says, I threw away my artificial arm and got this gun grafted in. The translator seems to have gotten the impression that the gunfire blew Barret's arm clean off, necessitating an artificial arm, or a pirate hook of some sort, which Barret eventually decided wasn't quite as useful as a bone-grafted Gatling gun would be. The Japanese paints a different picture. The gunfire injured Barret's arm in a way that permanently restricted his dexterity to a point where he decided, consummate with ineffectual rage at his attackers, that he should have the living arm amputated and replaced with a gun. There is no mention whatsoever of an artificial arm in Japanese. Also, he uses the verb teniireru, which means to get or to obtain. He's saying, I got this gun. If you remember way back at the beginning of the game, I explained that teniireru, if you break it apart, literally means insert into hand. Wow, that sure is the right verb to describe this gun. After hearing this story, Cloud says, do whatever you want. Is that what you want to hear? Well, I can't let you do it, because if you die on me, I'm gonna have nightmares. In Japanese, this is a little different. 好きにすればいいと言いたいところだが、ダメだな。ここであんたに死なれると夢見が悪そうだ. I really want to just say, yeah, do whatever you want, though I guess I shouldn't, because if you die on me, I'm probably going to have some bad dreams. Cloud is not putting words in Barret's mouth. He's taking words out of his own mouth. Cloud is not taking candy from a baby. He's transforming himself into a baby, and then giving himself candy. What I mean is, Cloud is growing up a little bit. Barret confronts his old buddy Dine, who also has a gun grafted onto his arm. It turns out that Barret's buddy is Barret's little girl Marlene's bio-dad. Wow, Barret is complicated. I love him. Well, Barret's buddy doesn't want any of this world anymore, so they fight. Barret wins, and his friend kills himself by jumping off a cliff. Wow, this is dark. Good thing Final Fantasy VII is a tonal roller coaster and immediately offsets this grimness with the cartoon spectacle of a chocobo race, through which, in front of a live studio audience, we earn our freedom from the desert prison. I played this race with the PlayStation 4 version's triple speed enhancement on. I slammed buttons like the controller owed me money, and I still won. What were the other chocobos even doing? Not only do we win this chocobo race, we get a full pardon from the theme park owner / jail warden, who also gives us a brand new car. Wow, big money, big prizes. I love it. Join me next time and I'll take you for a ride in this sweet vehicle. Maybe we'll find out why it has so many wheels. Actually, we won't. Oh no, I spoiled it. Ah, heck.
ありがとうございます。